This is the brand new Renault 4 etech, and this is kind of a salutation to the old classic Renault 4 from 1961, but fully electric of course. And this is my full review. Welcome to It's Only Electric. Let's start with the facts.
It's only electric.
The 4 is built on the same platform as the Renault 5, but it's slightly bigger. But the platform is called Ampere Small, and it's for small cars. This is a B-segment SUV measuring 4.14 meters, meaning that it is 22 centimeters longer than the Renault 5. Wheelbase 2.65 meters, so that means 8 more centimeters compared to the Renault 5 again. When it comes to curb weight, Renault is really trying hard to build lightweight EVs. That also goes for this one. So curb weight for the big battery pack, as this one has, is just under 1.5 tons, so 1,465 kilograms. So Renault is really trying hard to be as environmental friendly as possible when they build their electric cars, and they also try to stay as much as possible within Europe when it comes to the manufacturing. So they have something called Electric City in France. So 75% of all the parts is actually shipped within a 300 kilometers area to build this car. And that's really impressive. So the car is built in Europe for Europe. Even the battery pack is assembled in France. The cells though, they are from LG. This is the top spec version called Iconic, meaning that you get the bigger motor here at the front, so front wheel drive only, putting out 110 kilowatts, 150 horsepower and 242 newton meters of torque. It does 0 to 100 in 8.2 seconds with a top speed of 150 kilometers per hour. The Iconic also includes bigger wheels, so 18-inch rims, 195/60 Michelin tires all around. So the Iconic pack also gives you a bigger battery pack with a net capacity of 52 kilowatt hours NMC pack instead of 40, 10 to 80%. Fast charging, DC charging takes 32 minutes with a top speed of 100 kilowatts instead of 80 for the small battery pack. And AC charging, home charging, same on both battery packs, 11 kilowatts, 3-phase support. The WLTP range for the big battery pack in Scandinavia is 398 kilometers. I think if you buy it in France, for instance, it will be 406. And that's depending on the winter package and the heat pump. Something interesting, this is called a SUV in the B segment, as I just mentioned, and the ground clearance is 18.1 centimeters. And to set that into perspective, it's actually 1.5 or almost 2 centimeters higher than the Tesla Model Y. When it comes to the frontal design, fairly flat shaped here, illuminated grille with a illuminated logotype in the center. This is covered by transparent plastics, and you can actually see that there is a lot of design DNA taken from the old version of the Renault 4 back from 1961. And that's what makes this car a bit iconic. And I think that may be one of the factors that people pick this car, because it's kind of a modern retro looking front, and that goes for the whole car actually. As you see here, this lower part, black plastics, you may not like it, but the good thing is that this will be a lot more scratch resistant and a lot more easy to repair than having body colored fronts. So a good choice if you want to have a more sustainable car. Parking sensors here at the front, no front facing camera as a park assist function at least, and some air vents here at the side. So I think this is a interesting looking front. It's very different and it's kind of uplifting. So we move on to the rear, and you will see some design elements here too from the old R4. Here at the top we have a big air spoiler. And you may have noticed that the roofline is black and not the same color as the body color, and that's part of the iconic package. This small window is taken directly from the old R4, and also the angle of the D-pillar exactly the same as on the old model. So a nice shape to the rear here, and the big Renault text on top of the powered liftgate button. So the iconic version comes with a powered liftgate, separated tail lights. There's no illumination in between, a big 4 logo, and as in the front, in a practical manner, unpainted plastics, more scratch resistant, and more how a bumper actually should work and should look for being a more practical car. And Renault has worked really hard with the practical aspects of the Renault 4. For instance, you may have seen this cut here, and that's because of the redesigned rear lid. Goes lower, and that's because it's only 61 centimeters from this point down to the ground. So the loading lip is gone compared to the Renault Megane, for instance. And the total storage capacity here at the back is 420 liters. And that's when you have a subwoofer, as you have in the iconic version. If you don't have the premium sound system, you will have an additional 55 liters of boot capacity underneath here. And the 4 does not have any frunk. A 12 volt outlet here, some cargo securing bands, rubber bands, securing hooks, foldable seats split into 2 parts. You will see here that the lower loading lip will create another lip at that point instead, so it doesn't fold flat. And tow capacity 750 kilograms. And it's time to squeeze into the back seat. And the front seat is, as usual, adjusted after my driver position. And as you see, this is a compact car in the B segment, so you don't sit as a tall person in the back seat. I mean, I'm 6'4" or 193 centimeters tall, and it's cramped, of course, as expected, but still slightly bigger than the space you get in the R5. But as you see, my knees are of course not possible to keep straight. My feet is not possible to squeeze underneath the front seat. My head, surprisingly, does not touch the roof. I feel the roof line with my hair, but I do not touch it. So plenty of headroom actually, and that's good for this size of car. Thigh support, not perfect, of course, it's expected. What I like though is the rear bench. I mean, the outer positions, they are a bit dented, and I like the mix of materials, the pattern, the stitching here in the middle, the seams, but also this inlays of fabrics and this stripe with the French flag and the symbol of this is made in Europe, this is made in France. 3 individual headrests. They are adjustable height-wise. Also the one in the middle. Here in the front we have some storage, fairly deep storage here. And on top of that, 2 USB-C ports. You also have storage for your phone here in front of you, and some extra big pocket for storing other things. When it comes to fit and finish and the quality of the materials, there's a lot of hard plastics. As expected, this is a budget, practical, compact car. And I mean, it is what it is, and that's the reason why you buy this car. So there is no reason for whining here. I'm just informing you. Let's check out the front and start with the door sound. Frame doors. Let's do that again. A decent door sound. There is kind of a vibrating or echoing metallic sound. Let's start with the steering wheel this time. We have a traditional etech steering wheel. To the left we have the driver assist functionality, where you can set and decrease or increase the speed of the speed limit assist or the drive assist. You have the activation and deactivation of it. You can have kind of a mode toggler. And to the right, we have the multi-sense button. That's the drive mode selector or toggler. Just above that we have phone control, voice control activation, a favorite button. If you long press it, you can bound it to your favorite function. The instrument cluster toggler, so you can actually change the view. And to the right, you also have a rocker for controlling the right side, the information of the right side of the screen of the instrument cluster. The higher trim levels, like the Iconic, have a 2-screen setup. All versions has, but the instrument cluster is 10-inch instead of 7, companioned by a central media screen, a touchscreen at 10.1 inch, powered by Google. So it's running Android Automotive, which is really good. I have said that before, but the graphics, the layout, the functions, it's really stable. You have the functions you need. You also have wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay as a complement. So most functions are possible, and I like the system, especially the layout. It goes very well hand in hand with the exterior and the interior of the car. Underneath the central media screen, we have some regular manual air ventilations and this control panel that also exists in the Megane and the Renault 5, which is climate control oriented. Underneath that, the button for the hazard lights, a lock, unlock button, handbrake, automatic handbrake activation, one 12-volt outlet in the storage compartment here, and 2 USB-C ports, and a Qi charger, and a place for put your key in. 2 cup holders, non-adaptive, with a removable midsection divider. The armrest is cushioned, very small storage, fairly deep but extremely small, because the car is not that wide, so you won't fit a wider storage area here. What I didn't mention is the left side here. Here you have some light controls, but also the powered liftgate controllers. You can open the boot from here. My favorite button actually, and if you double press that, you will activate your safety, your personal safety settings. So for instance, if you want to get rid of the speed limit chimes, you can save that into your personal profile, and every time you enter the car, you will just double press that button to activate your settings. That's a very smart feature. The right side of the dashboard does have ambient lighting, the Renault 4 logotype, and the ambient lighting is changeable, so you can change the color to whatever you want. Underneath that section, there is kind of another flat surface with stitched leatherette and this nice details. This is a nice add-on to the car. And the seats, they are manual, so you adjust them manually back and forth, and the only thing that's electric or powered is the lumbar support. So the lumbar works in X-axis only, and you can lower the seat. It's actually in the lowest position now, but it's fairly simple seats because this is kind of an entry-level car or a budget car. You still have a glove box. It's small, but still provides you some storage. You have very small pockets in the doors, so space-wise, I mean, it's a narrow cabin. And when it comes to the seats, as at the back, same kind of materials. This nice stitching, I love it, and the mix between the materials is also very uplifting and actually good looking. Headrests adjusted height-wise, so only y-axis, not x-axis. But to be clear, I like the seats. The only thing I actually miss is, of course, a bit more of an angle to give me better thigh support. And of course, a extender of the thigh support, but that's nothing I expect from this price class. The Iconic version comes with the Harman Kardon premium sound system, so it's a 8-speaker setup with a subwoofer at the back, delivering in total 410 watts. And I think it's a okay sound system. I probably won't or wouldn't go without that sound system because I think it's needed, and I personally think that sound is important, but it's more to the warmer side, and as it is 410 watts, it doesn't play that high, and if you play too high, you will break the sound a little bit. Other than that, I think it's what I expect from this type of a car. Let us walk through the different settings and driving dynamics of the R4, as we call it. First off, one really big change is the one pedal driving. So Renault from now on delivers one pedal driving functionality and paddles just behind the steering wheel. So to the right, you decrease the amount of regenerative braking in 3 steps actually. So in the lowest step, it starts blinking and it's coasting. If you press the left side, you will increase the amount of regen. Number 2 is fairly aggressive. It's a good amount of regen, doesn't come to a full stop. If you press it a 3rd time, you will activate the one pedal drive mode, and that's the chime you hear. And if you deactivate it, you will also hear a tone. That's the deactivation. That's the activation. The sad thing though is that Renault has chosen not to keep the one pedal driving setting. So if you leave the car, restart it, and drive it again, the one pedal drive will deactivate. So you always need to reactivate the one pedal driving. And for me, that always try to drive on one pedal drive. It's a bit of a sad thing to do. I don't understand why though. So let's hope that they change that. But I must say that the one pedal driving is really good. It's really what I want to have, what I want to use. It's one of the better one pedal drivings I have tried. You can really use the right foot to granularly adjust the amount of regen. So it's really a one pedal driving in all aspects. And I know that the R5 also gonna get this. Probably the current deliveries get the new cars with the paddles. I'm not sure, but if you get the paddles, you will get one pedal driving support. The second thing that I really like with Renault's setup is when I drive a bit too fast, you all know these chimes, speed limit chimes. So now it's 60 here. If I drive 62, it will start beeping. Do you hear the beep? The first thing is the beep is really not that annoying. You can live with it. It's a good function. And when the tone, as in this car, is subtle enough, I think it's perfectly fine to have it active as a reminder. If you don't like the chimes though, you can just double press the left button just above your left knee to activate your drive profile, because that's deactivated every time, as it's for every car since it's EU regulated. So you double tap it to activate your settings, and in that settings you can actually adjust and make it turn off the chimes. So in the car menu you have something called the driving assist. At the top you have something called my safety. One is the default mode, all on, and that's what happens when you restart the car. It activates all on. But there is something called perso, and that's your personal settings, and you can configure that, and there you have several settings. For instance, the overspeed alert, the change, speed limitation change sound, lane departure prevention. There is a lot of different settings here that you can bind to your personal setting. And drive modes, there is a dedicated toggler for the different drive modes called multi-sense. So you press that one on the steering wheel and you have a couple of different modes: sport, personal, eco, comfort. But if you start with eco, you will really not get that much output. So it really limits the power output when you press the accelerator. gives you a lot tamer acceleration curve. So if you switch it over to comfort, yeah, it's a big difference. Feels like you get like half of the output when on eco, and immediately when you switch it over to comfort, and you will feel kind of a relief because it gets so much nippier. Even if you only have these 150 HP, you have enough torque. I mean, 245 Newton meters of torque makes the car feel, it doesn't feel slow, at least not under 100 kilometers per hour. Of course, when driving a bit quicker, you will feel the lack of power, but this is not a sports car. But if you switch over to sport, it's a bit slow. The toggling between the modes takes a bit of a time. Sometimes I tend to press it 2 times because I didn't feel that it like did take action on my first press, but it does. It just takes a bit more of a time. So in sport, yeah, you feel that is, I'm gonna put it back to comfort again. Yes, so in sport, in low speeds, as soon as you press the accelerator, you will get even more constant access to the power. It's really a big difference. So it gets even more aggressive on the accelerator. But I have tried the different modes on highway, and on highways, the difference between comfort and sport is really not noticeable. Because in high speeds, I mean, you probably already get all the power, and it is not enough to give you that immediate difference in the feeling when it comes to the accelerator. So only in low speeds. And then you have the last thing called personal, and that's always the modes I prefer, because then you can set your things, and you have a sub-menu called the driving, and you have 3 settings actually, and you have the engine, the accelerator, the output, the power you get, normal, sport, eco, and you have the steering wheel effort, low, medium, high. If you set it to low, that means that the steering wheel gets a lot softer and you need a lot more turning for the same level of radius. So you need to turn the steering wheel a lot more. If you set it to high, it gets a lot more direct. So I always drive it on high. The other 2 modes are, I don't know, almost useless for me at least. Then you have the vehicle dynamics, normal and sport. And to be honest, I don't feel any difference between those 2 things, and I'm really not sure what they actually do. One thing that I feel compared to the R5 is the suspension. The setup feels a bit more comfortable in the R4. It is not as jumpy on highways, and it feels a bit softer on uneven roads, gravel, etc., compared to the R5. So the R4 is really more to the comfortable side, but it's still a very versatile suspension. I like it. So traditional steel coils, dampers, but they are nicely tuned for the R4. This is one of the most lightweight EVs currently available on the market, and that's a good thing, because otherwise with a too heavy car, front wheel drive won't make sense. I mean, this is on the heavier side to be able to pull it off with front wheel drive only. You get some amount of torque steering, of course, when you floor it, especially in lower speeds. You will feel that it gets a bit harder to control the car, but I think the steering feels good. I think the suspension works good in a combination with the rest of the setup. And one good thing is that it has MacPherson setup at the front and a multi-link setup at the rear. And normally A lot of cars in this size class don't have multi-link systems at the back. So that will first off give you better comfort at the rear, but also better driving dynamics. It's a silent car. It's more silent than I hoped for. It feels more silent than the R5, but to be sure, we are going to measure the cabin noise as always. We're gonna do a range, consumption, cabin noise and charge test of this exact car, and that video will be released after this one. I will put the link up here when it's available, so don't miss that one. If you're into the R4, that's very important aspects. So let's do the mandatory tests, take it on some uneven roads, potholes and gravel, and see how the noise changes and how the suspension can handle those conditions. I think this is a thing we always try to do, to be able to compare the cars. And first part, I really think that the weight of the car helps us a lot here. And I think the tuning of the suspension is, I think it's good. And there is no bad sounds, there is no rattling from the suspension. That's good actually. That was two really big potholes, and it handles that good. I like the suspension. It kind of gives me kind of the feeling of how the cars felt before they got electric. You get kind of a bit more contact with the road somehow, and that's of course a good thing. So we have been looking at the specifications, the interior, the exterior, the driving dynamics of the Renault 4. It's time for me to try to summarize my experience with it. This is the max trim iconic version, so with the big drivetrain and the big battery pack. And the price of this one is 472,000 Swedish crowns, or around 40,000 euros. If you go for the entry level called, I think it's called Evolution, and that has the small drivetrain, the small battery pack, and starts at 385,000 Swedish crowns, or just about 30,000 euros. I think that the sweet spot is the Techno version, which cost 435,000 Swedish crowns, or around maybe 36,000 euros. And the reason for that is that you still get the big drivetrain, the big, more powerful motor, but also the big battery pack, and you get enough of equipment. You still have the extra boot capacity because you don't have the premium sound system. I think that's the sweet spot, and that's probably the one I would look at, because iconic version tends to be a bit too expensive compared to the alternatives on the market. The R4 compared to the R5, I mean, built on the same platform, etc., but this is 22 centimeters longer, so a lot more practical. First off, the boot, a great boot capacity of 420 liters plus 55 if you don't have the premium sound system. That's almost 500 liters of boot capacity for such a small car. That's good. For me, for instance, my kids are 13 years old and they are a bit cramped in the back seat, especially since I'm tall. I need to pull the seat really backward, and they almost don't fit behind me. So for a family of four, I think you need to stay under 185 centimeters if you sit in the front, and 175 if you sit in the back. As long as you are around that, you will be perfectly fine. And over the R5, you still have a bit more tow capacity. You have the rails, so you can actually attach a roof rack with 80 kilograms of load limit. So it's a lot more practical car, and you can really use this as your primary car, especially if you go for the big battery pack. And it's also a bit more grown up when it comes to the driving dynamics. It's more settled, it's more comfortable, it's more like, it's a better drive. And the lightweight strategy of Renault really makes the car engaging and fun to drive, despite having limited output, horsepower, I think it's still a fun car to drive. And that's thanks to this weight commitment. You don't need to add all those horsepower because it's still fun to drive. And the thing that I really try to build cars in Europe for Europeans, it's more back to Renault's original DNA. And I really like that. I appreciate that. And I appreciate them like trying to wake up the old iconic models like the R5 and the R4. That's a really clever idea. But with that said, there is some small things that I really wanted to adjust. The first thing I noticed is the elbow rest at the left side of the door, not cushioned. So it's rock hard, which means that if you drive for longer trips, your elbow will really hurt. I didn't expect that, at least not for a iconic version. They could put in some more padding. The right side is okay, even if it's to the stiffer side. The other thing is the stocks. I think the stock setup is a bit confusing because you have 3 stocks at the right side. You have the traditional Renault media control, and I know that people that's used to it love it. I don't have anything specific against it, but I think controls on the steering wheel made it even easier. On top of that, you have the traditional windshield wiper, and on top you have the gear selector. And the hard thing here is that I engage the windshield wipers instead of putting it into drive. It's more conveniently placed than the gear selector. And what I also missed on the gear selector is the park button. So instead of implementing a park button on the right side of it, it's only kind of a crystal design stock without any function. So you need to use the power on and power off button if you need to start or stop the car. It's not a biggie, you get used to it quickly, but still. But I'm at the same time really glad that they added the one pedal driving, because first off, every EV should have one pedal driving. I think that's one of the most important things to have. Secondly, it's a really good implementation. First off, you have the paddles, so it's very convenient toggling between one pedal driving and the amount of regen you want. If you want to coast, it's very, very easy to toggle to coasting. And the other part of it is that it's implemented so good, the one pedal driving. It's very usable. And I think that kind of summarizes my experience with the R4. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hype the video, and most importantly, share your thoughts in the comment section, and feel free to ask me questions. And as I always say, stay electric. Thank you for watching. Speak to you soon.